Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today I'm reviewing a podcast episode that I heard just the other day, and this was from the team at Basecamp. For those who don't know, Basecamp is perhaps one of the leading project management tools out there. It's software as a service. It's a monthly subscription for their tool, but you can manage different projects in it. And lots of teams use this. They're a multi-million-dollar company. Now, they are based in the Midwest. And for 20 years, they have not paid attention to SEO. They've grown they've grown through word of mouth and different other channels. But the reason why they set out on a course to find an SEO agency, and that's what this podcast episode was all about, their quest to find an SEO consultant to help them. The reason why they set out to do this in the first place is something that they discovered is if you searched branded keywords, like if you searched for Basecamp software, they would come up. But if you searched for project management software or non-branded keywords, they were not coming up in Google as high as they would like to be. So they set about trying to solve this issue. 20 years, they were doing okay, but they wanted to address this. So they went on Twitter, and I will link both the episode and the Twitter thread down below in show notes. But they went on Twitter. They got about 100 suggestions from different people. They narrowed it down to about 8 companies or individuals, and they did 6 hours of interviews, which is the title of the podcast episode. And I want to share with you some takeaways that I got from this episode, and it was really insightful. Now, mind you, this is a large company. They're a multi-million-dollar company. They're not a mom-and-pop shop. They've been around for 2 decades. But here's some of the things that they said, and I took notes here. What impressed them most was not necessarily people trying to display their skills, but how they presented themselves. And this was both individuals and agencies. It was more about how people were presenting, what they do in their knowledge. And interestingly enough, even though they're a large company, they were more impressed, or at least that's the takeaway that I got. They were more impressed by individuals because they were more real. They basically presented themselves as their real selves. They didn't necessarily talk in jargon, or as they say, they didn't have to worry about whether somebody was blowing smoke up their ass or not, because a lot of jargon was like that. And they said that the very first agency that they talked to, everything was very vague. They were talking in everything was like big data and machine learning and a lot of buzzwords and a lot of jargon, and it was just basically they couldn't give them a straight answer. And they said that is a problem that they saw in some of these phone calls and some of these interviews, is there's a lot of jargon, and all they really wanted was a straight answer. Because, even though that they're good at software, SEO is something that they don't understand. And that was a prevailing theme of this episode, was shopping for something that you don't 100% understand is difficult. And whenever you are presented with 2 or more choices, making a choice is very difficult, and especially if you're not familiar with how to evaluate stuff. So what they had to do was basically research different people, look at references, find out whether people were telling them the truth about certain things, and use their best judgment. And sometimes it comes down to that. Sometimes it comes down to a gut level of whether you believe someone's telling you the truth, or are they blowing smoke? Are they just feeding you a line of BS, or not? And that was something that they found. Another thing, the skepticism. The BS. What are they slinging? What are they trying to tell me? And even they said one of the people that presented was, that, they pointed that out, that a lot of people are not honest. But they felt that person was being sincere. Now, the companies that stood out to them, they dissuaded them against the standard BS of what they said. Their words, not mine. They dissuaded them against the standard BS. And one of the people said that for the most part, audits, like SEO audits of your ranking situation, are basically pulled from all the same tools. There's about 4 or 5 tools that most people are going to be using. And they said basically the data is going to be taken from that, reformatted, and just regurgitated in a different way, just formatted in a different way. I will disagree with that slightly, or a little bit more than slightly, I should say. At least like when we do audits, we do use tools to get data, to gather data, but the way that we present it is a little bit more in-depth than that. So I will disagree with that. There are companies that do SEO audits that are a little bit more in-depth. I've talked to different people on Twitter that do lengthy SEO audits, but if a company is just using a tool to basically get some information and regurgitate it to you, that's not really an audit in my mind. There needs to be a different word, I think, to describe these automated audits, and a different word to describe kind of human curated audits, because I've seen people that do like very lengthy audits, and that's something that we strive to do as well. So I will disagree with that. I think that they were pulled more towards solo people, and part of the reason that they cited was when they were talking to agencies, they weren't really sure who they were talking to. Were they talking to an account manager or a salesperson? Because when you're talking to a smaller team, if it's like 1 or 2 people, you know that those are the people that are going to be doing your work. And when you're talking to a very large agency, like 100 people or more, you're not really sure who you're talking to. If you're talking to an account manager, they might just be the person overseeing the project or the client contact, but they're probably not doing any of the work. And you don't even know who's doing any of the work. So that was a concern for them, and I found that very interesting, that the human touch seemed to be a factor in their final decision. I think I covered most of it. Oh, there's one other thing here that I thought was very interesting. The specificity of explanations. Some of the companies, they could not give them a straight answer about, how SEO works, how the Google algorithm works, how it decides what to put number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And all they were really looking for was a straight answer and not a bunch of jargon and buzzword bingo. So I'm going to link this interview down below, this podcast episode, and like I said, I urge you to check it out. I found it very revealing, very interesting, and I'll link the Twitter thread down below with some of the names that were recommended as well. I have a feeling I know who they picked for the final choice, and I think that it is probably a good choice if it is who I think it is. I think I know who the last 2 people were, the final 2 people that they were going to choose. I'm pretty sure. But both of those would have been solid choices. I think that they'll do good. And like I said, Basecamp, definitely check out their website. I'll link that down below too. My name's John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design and SEO. We help manufacturing and industrial companies with SEO. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments below. I would love to see you subscribe, because I'm here publishing every single day, 365. That's it for now. Till next time. Peace.